On today's Locked On Thunder podcast, the Oklahoma City Thunder are NBA champions. They're truly built to last. How can they keep building on this title season?
You are Locked On Thunder, your daily Oklahoma City Thunder podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Let's get it going on the Locked On Thunder podcast, on the Locked On Podcast Network, your teams every day. I am your host, media member, and beat writer for Thunder on SI, Rylan Stiles. Follow me on Twitter at Rylan_Stiles. Follow the show on Twitter at LOThunderPod. Email the show, LOThunderPod@gmail.com. On today's show, we're joined by Michael Martin at Michael on Sports on Twitter. Let's talk Thunder on YouTube to discuss the NBA champion OKC Thunder. Game 7 still lingering. The parade just happened. There's a lot to dive into. But, Michael, how are you feeling covering the NBA champs?
I'm feeling overjoyed, and it's not just for me. I mean, we talked off the pod about the excitement that we have for the organization, the players who we don't really know, but we know them in a professional sort of coworker almost relationship. And it's been really cool to see them get rewarded for their years of really grinding. Mark especially, Sam, Claybin, and all of them. And then just the overjoy for the city of, like, knowing my dad, who's been watching this team since they won 24 games and beyond. Like, when they lost to the Bucks in night 1 in 2008, we were there. And it's been just super, super cool to have this moment of one of those things where after Durant leaves, you never know if it's going to be a possibility. So to actually live through this, what could be a once-in-a-life time opportunity, hopefully not, was extremely cool, and I'm just super, super grateful and blessed to be able to be a part of it with you.
Yeah, man, it's been great. You know, we went to every playoff game together, driving up and down these highways, possibly getting some speeding tickets. Someone might have gotten pulled over. I'm not going to say who. Might have been me. But, you know, it was a lot of fun, and like the memories of the road trips, like not even the games are huge. Yeah. The games are huge. Everything about this is huge. We just came off the parade, so I guess we can work backwards. What'd you think? What'd you think of having a parade inside this city, a professional sports championship parade?
I mean, it felt like a movie. I mean, we weren't outside too much. I caught the end of it because we were working inside and watched most of it on the big screen. And it was just like too late after the pressers to try to go out there and like stand in the back behind 2,000 people. But unbelievable. I didn't realize how rare it was for the guys to get out of the buses and start running around. That was super cool. All those guys got to touch the trophy. I hope that we get to. That'd be really cool. And I don't really want to hear them say that no one can, because I just saw 3,000 people touch it. So just, you know, we'll wipe it off. We'll clean it up. But that, and then Shai's group interview, Jay Will's legendary moment, which I'm sure you talked about earlier, and then Aaron Wiggins' speech that just like had you ready to run through a wall, was unbelievable, top to bottom. Like I know there was a lot of planning in this, and also a lot of it was thrown together, but it's one of those things where it felt very natural, and that's the most important thing, and people are going to remember this for a very, very long time.
I mean, Wiggins' speech, like, just to give you some behind the scenes on Wiggins, like, this is a guy who his teammates, they always say he's funny, he's outgoing, he's like this life of the party. To our professional relationship, this is a guy who, if you go into the locker room before the game starts, and like the way that it's set up, pregame, you go into the locker room and you understand that like the rules are set where the players do not have to talk if they don't want to. So he's well within his right to do this. But before the game, he'll be in the locker room. He'll be literally balled up inside of his locker with the door shut, to where you don't even know he's in there until he sprawls out of this locker and walks past you. It's like, that's how reserved he is when he gets podium games, when you talk to him post game where guys have to talk. He is very polite. He's very respectful. He's very buttoned up. He tries his very best to answer your questions, but he's not exactly the life of the party the way that the team describes. And to see him have that moment where he gets to be the life of the party and he gets to kind of express himself was pretty awesome to see. It certainly took a lot of us by surprise that he's able to have that moment. I too wonder, and we can ask probably Paris about this sometime this week, of just like, was the plan always to do Q&As after Wiggins, or did Wiggins just set the bar so high for a speech that it was like, you know what, that's the only speech of the night, let's just do Q&As for the rest of these guys. And that was at the season ticket holder event inside the Paycom Center right before the press conferences. before they loaded up on the buses and went about their way. And then Jay will at the actual parade at Scissortail Park, dropping an F-bomb. And let me tell you, it's not a pro sports parade unless you drop an F-bomb. It just isn't. You can go back and look at every single parade ever. And he did his best Johnny Gomes impression. That was spectacular. And I just think that the over sense of joy, and this is another insight into like what Michael's talking about, what we've expressed, is just like Nick Gallo taking a tequila shot on the streets of OKC with Isaiah Hartenstein. Like Nick Gallo is someone that you're happy for whenever they win a championship, because he deserves to be right here in the mix of everything and kind of embracing it with the team, because he's a behind the scenes guy, but he's a part of the team and he's a part of what this team has built. Like it was just cool to see from top down to guys that the audience doesn't even know that we're happy for, that they were able to win this championship. But the parade, spectacular. The reports are like there were 600,000 people there. The amount of people who showed up in the heat on a Tuesday trying to, and I say cram in the sense of like they won it on a Sunday. They had to do it on a Tuesday because you don't really want to have the draft, have the parade after the draft. That'd be kind of awkward. So they had to really get it in there, and they did it, and they pulled it off. And I mean, honestly, it was pretty seamless. I mean, you were able to leave before we left, and you had no problems getting out because they were so efficient with bussing people out of the parade and clearing up the street so people could get out. Whenever we left, it was like a normal day, which is shocking because we only gave it like an hour to die down, and still we were able to get out of there in no time. Like the city, the team, everything, was just so efficient in the parade, just like SGA had a very efficient season and one of the best guard seasons of all time. We'll talk about him more coming up, but the parade was great.
I have one more parade question for you.
Go ahead.
Are you taking Adam Flagler Day off?
Oh yeah, I've told David Locke. I've put in my notes in Teams today that I am not working Adam Flagler Day. That's another point that we haven't mentioned on the show yet that all of you have seen by now. Mayor Holt gets up there and gives every player on the roster, a day. And while we're making requests about touching the trophies, listen, Matty T and them boys, up here in OKC, the Thunder are 1-0 in championship seasons after letting a player come on Locked On Thunder. Adam Flagler, friend of the pod, July 9. I'll work for Flag. I'll tell you that for free. Imagine you with a sign in my hands on Britain right now in front of Thunder Ion. Will work for Flag. I'll retake on July 9 if Adam Flagler's back on the show, or any Thunder player for that matter. Listen, you know what to do. And all I'm saying is you don't want to mess with the streak. And they're currently 1-0 after titles. But yeah, that was awesome. And Mayor Holt, pretty generous with his days. He's often done this. He gave Russell Westbrook a day. He's given this whole team a day. I will say, Mayor Holt, Matty T Day needs to happen as well. But when you look at this championship, it stems from, of course, Game 7. And Game 7 was just the wildest thing ever. Like the emotions heading in, truly anything could happen. Like we all usually talk before the game of what we think will happen, and we all pretty much have an answer. And whether we're right or wrong, like we have an answer. Nobody had an answer before Game 7. We could see it going a billion different ways. And then it starts out with such a tight contest. Halliburton's nailing threes, and sadly Halliburton goes down with that torn Achilles. And you just got to give credit to Therese Halliburton for gutting through it, and that these guys truly are putting their bodies on the line to try to win a championship, try to do everything. I mean, they're trying to have individual success of like winning a championship, what it means for their legacy. They're trying to gut it out for the organization, for the city, and for everything else. And I don't blame Halliburton for fighting through this in an NBA Finals Game 7. I just respect him a lot, and I know that it sucks that it ended that way. But that took like a certain wind out of the sails, I guess you could say, for a moment. Like both teams felt pretty shocked, and then the Pacers tried their very best to rally around it. But I mean, Obi Toppin talked about after the game what it does to your psyche to see like your guy, your leader go down like that, and that's just such an unbelievably hard thing to do. And so that became like the biggest story from the Thunder winning their biggest their first ever championship. And I hope that Halliburton has a great rehab process, and luckily, like we've seen guys come back from Achilles injuries. It's not like before, where they were like truly just devastating. We've seen guys come back, and I fully believe that Halliburton will come back. This guy I mean, all these players work hard, but Halliburton especially works really hard as a guy that you've seen progress in his career from no star to 3-star retroactively, as he always points out, and he's completely right about that. 3-star retroactively by these recruiting services to a number one guy on a team that was 48 minutes away, and they led at halftime, 24 minutes away from an NBA championship. Like he is that guy, and I think he's going to get back to that point once he's rehabbing. But like that took a weird, kind of cloud on the game, and the Thunder in the second half able to up the defense. They're able to win this game. After they won that, still working backwards, I guess. Seeing Clay Bennett get choked up, seeing Sam Presti get choked up, seeing what this meant to that crowd. We're going to talk about the feelings of the building when that happened, talk about the game, and talk about how the Thunder are still, sustainable and built to last, all coming up. But first one's here right now, but good friends over at OpenPhone. Go check out OpenPhone today, because if you're looking to run a business, you know that every missed call is money left on the table. Think about the time that you had an urgent need. Maybe it was a plumbing service, an AC service, whatever it was. If the first person that you called didn't answer, did you just sit there and wait around? Probably not. You probably moved on, and that's why you need OpenPhone. OpenPhone is the #1 business phone system built to streamline and scale your customer communication, all on an app on your phone or computer. OpenPhone lets you manage your business calls and texts in a single app. It has a shared inbox feature, which is a game changer. Your team can jump into any conversation instantly without missing a beat. They even have an AI agent that handles your after-hour calls, including answering common questions and capturing leads, to make sure that you never miss a customer. OpenPhone is offering my listeners 20% off your first 6 months at openphone.com/LockedOnNBA. That's OPENPHONE.com/LockedOnNBA. And if you have an existing number with another service, OpenPhone will port them over at no extra charge. OpenPhone, no missed calls, no missed customers. We're back on the Locked On Thunder podcast, on the Locked On Podcast Network, your teams every day. We're going to keep working backwards because we've already done it. Game 7 ends, the Thunder win, and like the party feeling starts like when they do a hockey sub of pulling all their guys out, and only Chet's left on the court because he was at the free throw line, and Mark embraces every single player. Seeing him embrace Alex Caruso was just a full circle moment of just those two guys coming from the blue and working their way up in paths almost never traveled by. Of course, Caruso's path is a bit cleaner. There have been some coaches like Mark, like Nick Nurse and Chris Finch, who have come from G League pedigree to being NBA head coaches, but Mark's path, of course, being so young and doing it is rare. But that was huge. Seeing J-Dub cry was huge, and J-Dub getting to jump on the scores table afterward. We mentioned that Clay and Sam getting choked up was a cool moment, just because how much that they've invested in making this happen. When the confetti starts to fall and the entire crowd gets to sing along to "We Are the Champions" in this city, in this state, kind of what this all means, it was just really special.
Yeah, the Caruso one was really cool. I also really enjoyed the moment of, you mentioned Mark embracing everybody, but specifically Lou and Shai meant a lot to me watching that, of just like their relationship going back to the bubble. Shai's talked about Mark being the perfect coach for him, about how their career sort of elevated right at the time where Mark put the keys in his hands and how much that meant to him. And Lou starting in the blue, and although Mark wasn't with the blue at that time, I don't think, he still was like a big part of the blue and the development course. And so knowing those guys together, he immediately starts Lou the next year. So that was incredibly cool. Going backwards, like you mentioned, the confetti raining in, the celebration, it seemed like people were just trying to stay there as long as possible, even if they weren't trying to get any work done, just to soak up as much of that energy as possible. And it was a really cool event. It was surprising to me, not that it was loud, obviously we know what it is, but like with the number of Pacers fans there, and then there's a section cut out for the media where a lot of people sat for national media, that's the loudest building I've ever been in. And I don't feel like that's hyperbolic. I don't feel like that's me being a prisoner of the moment. I don't know how that feels for you, but it was like disgustingly loud in that building.
I completely agree. I mean, like the levels and decibels that it got to in that place was truly shocking, because we've been there, like I said, for every playoff game. Every playoff game of this era, we've been there in the building, home and away, and it's never felt that way. It's never gotten that loud. It's never reached that level, especially where we're at, where the sound is kind of pushing forward, not to us. Like the sound still was ear-splitting, and deafening in that building. And it's just a hats off to the fans, because there were more Pacer fans and away fans than normal. There were those two sections cut out, and they still reached that fever pitch, which I just thought was, a fan base starved for, a championship. They were quenching that thirst at the end to win a title, for this city, for this team. And you now look at it, and they've silenced a lot of critics. I mean, Jay Will talked about it. Oh, they're too young. They didn't deserve a team, whatever. And they've also silenced critics in the sense of this rebuild was 2 seasons of non-competitive basketball. This organization, since 2008, has had 4 seasons of non-competitive basketball. That's not supposed to happen in a small market or in a place like Oklahoma City. And Sam Presti had to deal with plenty of questions along the way of this rebuild of, why aren't you pushing all these picks in? Why are you pick hoarding? Why are you wasting, SGA's prime? And he has a title at 26, along with the Finals MVP, Western Conference Finals MVP, and a league MVP and a scoring champion. Like, that's the stuff that people were saying, and we knew it was silly at the time. But to silence all of that in year 3 of this core is special, and it does show. Like, I don't think it's prisoner of the moment the way it was before. Like, we've seen this article get written for almost every champion of like, they're going to be around a while. I think that this time it's legit.
Yeah, I couldn't argue with that. And before I get to that point about the longevity, I thought I would make a Chiefs point with you about, when Andy Reid finally won a ring, it felt like one of those things where everybody recognized how special he was, but it took winning a championship for him to totally get that recognition from the public. And I just love that moment for Sam, where everybody knows how great he is and how smart he is and how great he is at his job. There's some idiots in the media who will question some of the things that he does, like they talked about the 2 rebuilding years, but you can't question these results of what's happening. So just really cool moment for him. But yeah, the longevity is there. You have a young coach who's really improving. Shai's in his prime. He hasn't reached the apex of, I think, what he can be. He can still get better. He gets better every single year. Dub got better throughout the playoffs. He's going to be better. Chet is coming off 2 major injuries in 2 of the last 3 years. He's going to be better. And then you have guys like Cason Wallace who's going to improve, and AJ Mitchell and others, and you have all this horde of draft picks. So I think there's a real path for this team to get better going forward. I think that they can develop more as a passing team. I think that the biggest jump they can take in the next couple seasons is going to be on the offensive end. And if they can stay consistent with what they are on defense, and then add that next offensive piece of their system of where the things don't get bogged down as much, I mean, this team is going to be unbelievably good.
Yeah, and I mean, I love that Andy Reid comparison of just, like you said, nobody questioned him. Like, the runs he had with Philadelphia, where it was similar to Sam, where it's like they were always good. I mean, the Alex Smith seasons with Kansas City, they were always good. He went to conference title after conference title, and he never could quite break through, because breaking through is hard. Then he gets a special circumstance where he gets his guy in Patrick Mahomes, and he builds this roster because Mahomes is so electrifying, and he wins one. And now, he's unquestionably one of the best of all time. There's not even any sort of hole you could poke at his situation, where it's like Eagle fans, because he didn't quite get over the final hurdle with Philadelphia. I mean, I'll never forget this Andy Reid tangent here. I'll never forget this video that Eagle fans made to Taylor Swift's song of "We're Never Getting Back Together." They made it "We're Never Gonna Win with Andy." And I mean, even in Kansas City, while leading up to that Super Bowl, Bob Fesco and them boys on 610 Sports Radio, who I love, they would always play that video after every big Chiefs loss. I'm just like, it felt like he was the close but no cigar poster child, and then he finally got the cigar. And Sam Presti did too, and having that moment is special, especially for someone as young as Sam too, where this thing can really be built out and fleshed out even more. This team can still be fleshed out, and I think that the draft is a big deal coming up today. We'll talk some draft. We'll talk again internal improvements that you touched down, plus the NBA offseason. Like, the calendar slows down for nobody. Monday is free agency, which is why you're seeing this slew of moves being announced today ahead of the draft by ESPN and them. So make sure you go follow along with that on Thunder on SI. Let's talk Thunder, Locked On Thunder. Coming up, how the Thunder truly are in the midst of another sustained, successful run. But first, I want to say right now, my good friends over at Wayfair, go check out Wayfair today, because there's nothing like stepping into your own outdoor space and feeling like you've escaped to a personal oasis. If you're wanting an update on your patio furniture, Wayfair has everything that's so easy to turn your space into something that's yours, comfortable, stylish, ready for the summer. Wayfair has everything you need to level up your outdoor space with conversation sets, outdoor bars, fire pits, hot tubs, gazebos, and yes, even the perfect string lights to set the vibe. It's like giving your backyard that restored feeling without the restore price. So make sure that you go and check it out today, because Wayfair has every style, every home. And whether you want that modern lounge or you want some of that retro furnishing, you can get anything you want with Wayfair. Free, fast, and totally hassle-free delivery. Make sure you check it out today. Do not wait. Make your outdoor space your dream oasis today. And with Wayfair, you can enjoy it all summer long by heading to wayfair.com right now, shopping for their outdoor selection. And that's Wayfair, WAYFAIR.com. Wayfair, every style, every home. We're back on the Locked On Thunder podcast on the Locked On Podcast Network, your teams every day. Here talking about the NBA champs, the OKC Thunder. With Michael Martin, Let's Talk Thunder on YouTube, at Michael on Sports on Twitter. I'm Rylan Stiles, host of Locked On Thunder, and you can follow me on Twitter at Rylan_Stiles. Let's talk Thunder, no pun intended. They can get better after this. And that's the craziest part, is that before we even launch into the offseason, internally, like, there was a reason why I spent all season tampering expectations on Jalen Williams, who ends up having a 40-point game in the finals and being a key piece of how you won the championship. But you saw throughout this playoffs how his mentality shifted, his ability to play with forcefully around the rim. If he just parlayed this playoffs into a season, it would be the best he's ever been at drawing free throws. It'd be the best he's ever been at scoring the basketball as an isolation individual scorer. You know what he is defensively, and he did all this with a bad wrist where he's obviously ailing, and that impacted his shot. It impacted his handle at times whenever you would get into the ball and get into his body. Like, all those things are going to naturally improve on top of whatever he adds to his game. It's like you mirror it with SGA of once the free throws came around, that point per game jumped up, which is going to happen for every player. In every game, every year, including this one, he'd get better. This year's big improvement is playmaking. Shai's never been this level of playmaker until now. And so, like, every year these guys work on a certain focal point of their game, and they're going to add that, and it's hard to predict that, but something will change for him. With Chet, you saw it. The 10 games before he broke his hip, what he was doing as an off-the-catch score was unbelievable. It was all NBA stuff, what he was doing for those 10 games. Now, the further away you get from that hip injury, the shot comes back around. How close can he get to the pre-hip injury, Chet, from the first 10 games? Like, that will naturally improve this roster. And then along the way, you have seen flashes from guys like Cason Wallace, who've been way better on the ball this season than they ever have before, and still plenty of room to grow. So I just think that before you talk about anything externally, there's so many guys I'm interested to see internally develop. Is there any in particular skill set from a player that you really think come November we'll be having a podcast segment about, of like, is this improvement legit? Like, they've really been really good to start the season.
I would say Cason Wallace on the ball as a facilitator and scorer, of just putting the ball in his hands more. Like, we know that they're going to probably slow play Caruso like they did last year, and I just want to see a ton of reps with Cason, because he's already stamped certified he's going to be in your rotation long term in terms of a guy in the playoffs and the finals. So, like, he's going to play. So why not give him those extra reps? We know that he's played point guard before in high school and college. If he can add some extra creation things where you can play Shai off the ball a little bit more whenever he gets pressed, like he did against the Pacers or Dub, and just take some of those extra stress miles off them, I think could be massive. We've seen him up his three-point production. I think that's been really good. I don't think he's ready quite yet for some of the off-the-dribble threes, but we've seen his mid-range stuff. We've seen him finish better at the rim. Maybe he can get to the free throw line more. He's a pretty solid passer right now. Maybe he updates that. I'd say that's something I'm definitely looking for.
That's a really good one. I think that my obvious one is just Chet, of like, what he was able to accomplish defensively. You do not win a title without his defense. He was one of your best players in a Game 7, which obviously, if you lose Game 7, you're not winning a championship. The further away he gets from the hip injury, how much more comes back to him? Because I'm fully confident that his play finishing comes back to him. But like we said, before the hip injury, he was doing a lot more on the ball and a lot more off the catch than he ever had at this level. How close can he get to that is what I'm really looking for. And those first few games will be huge, because this is a guy who's really benefited his whole career from more time off, more rest, and now you have the luxury to do so in a season like this where you're coming off the championship, and like, you just naturally have to, load management has become a taboo word, but you naturally have to be cautious with how you're playing these guys, because you look up right now, and we're sitting here on draft day on June 25th. You look up, we're not that far away from training camp. We're not that far away from media day. Like, that's going to be here at the start of football season. And like the start of football season, we're counting down the days for it. We know exactly when OU kicks that thing off. It'll be week 3 of the football season that we'll start talking Thunder in a big way in terms of next season. You just cannot, play these guys a ton of miles after a season and make it even longer than that. So he'll get the rest. He'll get the days off to where he can really look impactful whenever he is on the court. And I just want to see where that goes. I also, a little under the radar one, I guess, would be AJ Mitchell, because AJ Mitchell was really good for this team. And it'll get lost in all that's happening, because it feels like we've played 3 seasons since he last played in January with any real merit. But before January, he was a key reason why you made it through all the different things that you did. So yeah, I just think that AJ Mitchell, like, he was such an important part, and he got hurt sadly in January, and that was like before you typically see rookies hit a rookie wall, or like the book being out on them. And so like just seeing him back on the court in a meaningful way, I think will be big. And seeing kind of how he adjusted the NBA in year 2 and how the Thunder incorporate him, because he was kind of a mark guy. He was a defender. He was a scrappy on-ball player. He was really good off the ball. So I think AJ, I mean, what else would stand out to you?
Well, I'm a big AJ guy. We've been talking about him for a while. Also, just the development of Aaron Wiggins. We saw it late in the season, around after AJ got hurt, where we saw a lot more on-ball creation juice from him. And that continued a little bit into the playoffs, where Mark wanted some extra creation, and he went to Wiggs, and he was able to swing a couple of games. He was really big in Game 5. He was really big in Game 2. So I want to see some more stuff from him, because like you said, injuries are a big part of this. Like we know with Chet, knock on wood, we've had some really, really healthy Shai seasons back-to-back years. Dub's been really healthy, but that's how you can sustain the success, is by, even if a guy goes down for a couple of weeks, a guy like Aaron Wiggins can step up into the rotation, give you some extra points, and sort of just hold the ship down until a guy like Shai or Dub gets back.
Yeah, I think that Wiggs, too, the roster around him is what I find interesting, because a lot of what he's shown on the court, I feel like is near or at the ceiling of who he can be production-wise, talent-wise, but the roster around him, as I always harp on, and I know that people just look at Wiggs and stamp bad defender on his forehead. If he's allowed to only guard small wings and guards, he's a good defender. Like, he can get in there and really play defense. And he's admitted this, so I'm not, saying anything out of turn. He's admitted this, to questions I've asked him about defending bigger wings. He's not comfortable doing that. And I would say he's not good at it. Like, he's not comfortable at it because he's not good at it. And it's like, if you can build a roster around him where he's primarily playing with lineups where that's not his responsibility anymore, that in and of itself can get him to look better on the court before anything that he puts in this summer, which of course he'll put in a ton of work this summer. So that leads us into the drafts today. Free agency opens up Monday. The Thunder technically could just run everybody back. They have everybody under contract. It's super rare where, like, you quite literally, if you wanted to, could have all 18 guys back next season. But we know the nature of the NBA. Like, that's a very low chance of actually happening. The Thunder have 3 picks today in the draft. 2 of them in the first round today, 1 tomorrow in the second round. Starting with the draft, I'm not going to make you nail down a pick because I know it's impossible to predict Sam Presti. Archetype, skill set, position. What are you aiming for if you were in that front office for this roster?
Whether it's in the draft or trading for it, I want to see an A+ shooter. We've seen some good shooters on this Thunder team, and Caruso was really good in the playoffs. Lou Dort was really good in the playoffs, but I want to get that true blue number 1 threat, because there have been a lot of guys on the Thunder who, not to name names, but have been pretty good in the regular season in sort of low leverage moments, but when the lights were a little bit brighter, it became a little bit tougher to rely on that shooting. Like, you saw that, 3 for 17 game and like Game 4. So they got to get some more reliable shooting to open up some of those lanes for Dub and Shai. And then beyond that, just a little bit more athleticism on the wing and sort of the bigs, like you mentioned with Wiggs not being comfortable. You just draft a guy who is comfortable, who can do some of those things you can plug and play, because this Thunder team is really, really deep. It felt like they got a little bit thin in terms of like super athletic wings that they could play, which are like one of the more valuable currencies that we've seen in the league. And then I'd like to see them get like a third, fourth string big that they can sort of just mold for the next few years as some contracts come up.
Yeah, that would be, kind of protecting themselves for the future. That's why the NBA draft is so important, because you can get, as an organization who is super good at development with the G League and with finding ways that Mark, I mean, again, we talked about AJ playing. Mark this year won 68 games, and he still played everybody. He still found ways to make everybody better. And like, that is a tool. That is a resource that you have to maximize, especially as in this new CBA. And as you pay Shai next summer for his big deal, you pay Chet and J-Dub, you pay these guys. The biggest currency is going to be cost-controlled talent, and you get that through the draft and having guys make winning impacts on their rookie scale contracts. And so to keep all this thing going and keep the train going down the tracks, you need to nail these picks starting tonight in the NBA draft to be able to have that cost-controlled talent. I think that as far as archetypes go, whether it's any place, but we'll talk first about the draft, I think that you hit the nail on the head. I would like to see them go get a true 4, but a Thunder 4. Of like, you guys like to have these lengthy guys, these versatile guys, but let's bump that number up a little bit in terms of size and athleticism, as you put it, to get a legitimate 4, modern day 4 for the Thunder, which makes everybody more comfortable. And when lineups where you only play one big, even keep straight up at the 3 the way he is with double bigs, where he's been a little bit better in my opinion. Instead of playing the 4, not that he's bad at the 4, but just a little bit better at the 3. And he talked about how more natural that is. So I just think that would be worth it. You mentioned, I don't know if they can get this in the draft, the guy who is ready-made for the bright lights of the playoffs and from beyond the arc, but at some point I think that they do need to address having, right now they have a lot of capable guys, they have a lot of capable three-point shooters, a lot of streaky three-point shooters, but you just saw a postseason where they all went cold at the same time, and the retort to that would be, well, they won a championship. But that's the much harder path to go. If you could you imagine this team in this playoff run, not that you can do more than win a championship, but like the cruise control nature of like a team that could reliably hit threes and defend this way. And I know it's hard to be able to defend this way and find a guy who can accentuate this all-time great defense and shoot the 3. But to me, part of the reason that you can pile all of these electrifying defenders is that you have a great defensive-minded head coach and you have a great defensive roster. You can afford to get away with an average to slightly above average defender if you flank him with 4 elite defenders. And the Thunder have that capability with their lineups to sacrifice a tad at one position defensively to get a really good shooter from beyond the arc. And I think that the bigs is a big deal too, because right now you look at the roster and it might hit some people funny of like you have Chet, J. Will, and iHeart. Look, it's all hunky-dory feelings right now. The reality is, like, you're going to keep your top nucleus. Everybody else besides the big 3 really is susceptible to like CBA stuff, to where you need to have the back end guys to usher up. As one contract gets too big, you peel it off and you usher up other guys. And so starting that developmental clock, whenever you have such a great G League team, in this organization, you have such a great developmental coaching staff, would only be a good thing. So the beautiful thing for the Thunder is, I like this draft class a lot. And there is one guy who I would not want to see the Thunder draft in this entire draft class. And that's not been able to been said much in many NBA drafts. That's how much I like this class. There's only one guy who I would come on here tomorrow and be like, don't really get this pick at pick 15. So they have the entire board at their disposal where I could see the vision for it working. And that's a testament to the draft class, a testament to the Thunder's track record and the Thunder's current roster, which just has a lot of versatility and flexibility where you can truly make a lot of things work. But the shooting, I think, is the biggest thing that needs to be addressed at some point this offseason. And it could be addressed. I'll give them a little bit of credit. I don't know if you would agree of just they've been through 2 playoff runs now. They've seen how hard it is to just simply get shots off in the playoffs. And they were a tick better this year than last year at just simply releasing the ball from their hands from 3. It didn't go in as much as you want it to. It didn't have success as much as you want it to. But that was at least incremental improvements. They did win a championship. So it's like maybe you can bank on these guys not all going cold at the same time and getting better. And I would have a hard time pushing back on that. I just think that if you're looking for avenues where they can improve, they're already so great that like it's half court offense identity. It's finding reliable shooting. it's kind of it. I mean,
Yeah.
this team is nearly a perfect roster. They just need to have a consistent half-court offense and a good three-point shooting, which kind of goes hand in hand, in a way. So it's kind of like one need bursted apart into two. So I do think that the Thunder are in a great spot, and that's why we talk about them in these tones of like dynastic tones for the future. And then they are going to be around a long time at a competitive level, at a contending level. And the last Thunder team was too. Michael, what drives me crazy is people who look at the Thunder and they won a championship this year, and they're like, I'm not ready to say that they're going to be consistent because look at the last Thunder run in 2012. Guys, the last Thunder run in 2012, they were legitimate contenders the entire time that Kevin Durant and Russell Westbrook were in town. They blew a 3-1 lead to the historically great Warriors, and then injuries derailed some seasons where they really could have done it. And that's the breaks. I mean, that could happen to this team too, but it wasn't from a lack of being competitive for 9 seasons. They were competitive, and this team will be competitive as well. Can they get the breaks? Can they get the fortune? Can they stay healthy? Like, those are things that are outside of the scope of what we're talking about, outside of the realm of predictions. If you're just picking it straight up right now, there's a reason why the Thunder are still favored to do it again, like Steely Dan.
Yeah, no, there's plenty of stuff to touch on there. I think that the shooting, that's something I would trade for. You know my sort of feelings on shooting 6-men, lob catching bigs of like, I don't really want to draft that. I'd rather just get the guy who I know who can do it. And then beyond that, you mentioned some of the questions about this team. Just whatever. Who cares? You guys won the championship. And people can try to poke holes because that's just sort of the job, I guess, for some people. They just want to hate. But the reality is, like, that those Durant teams, they made 4 conference finals in 6 years. There are a lot of franchises in their history have never made 4 conference finals. Like, I think it was the Clippers a few years ago who finally made their first. Like, the Wolves have only made 3, and that's coming off back-to-back years. So there's a lot of stuff, but this team is definitely set up for the future. And sort of adding on to the point you made about the big 3 and then sort of just shuffling guys in and out, the Thunder very connected to the Spurs. That's where Sam Presti's from. That's exactly what they did. They had Ginobili, they had Tim Duncan, they had Tony Parker, and beyond that, you had your David Robinsons, Kawhi Leonard. That was a different scenario. Steven Jackson's. You can go to Bruce Bowen. All those guys, they kind of shuffle in and out. But what was the most important part was same owner, same GM, same coach, same 3 pillar stars.
You're exactly right. And you do have a video already up about who you would trade for to help the Thunder's 3-point shooting. That would fit the Thunder's identity. You can go back and look at that for Let's Talk Thunder. What do you have cooking up after this championship season at Let's Talk Thunder on YouTube?
Well, I might change who I would give up in that deal, but I would still trade for Cam Johnson. But right now I've got a few things coming in about sort of the Thunder's depth, as we've talked about, how that's helped them win a title, comparing them to other deep teams of recent past. And then a few other ones about Alex Caruso and his sort of playoff greatness and things like that. But you'll probably see a video as soon as Monday on one of those things. And then going on after that with the season out, I'm going to try to get back to weekly uploads.
Go check that out. Let's Talk Thunder on YouTube. But until next time, we're going to recap the Thunder's draft pick in the first round. Be good and be good to one another.